So you've just presented a treatment plan to a patient. They seem very excited about it, and you've sent them off with your treatment coordinator to go apply for financing. You catch up with your treatment coordinator later in the day to find out what happened with that patient. You find out that they were disapproved for financing and will not be coming back. What do you do now? Well, that's what I want to talk about in this week's tip. All right, so what do you do when a patient is disapproved for financing? Now, I'm going to explain, but to explain it properly, there's some things you should be doing first when you present the case. This isn't a bait and switch. You have to understand the process, and then I'll get into what you do when the patient is disapproved. So let's take a look at the basic case presentation process. What are we doing when we present a treatment plan? Number one, we want to assume that you, the doctor, are in good communication with the patient. Maybe you have the treatment coordinator with you while you're presenting the case. You have a good rapport. You would explain what's wrong, how you want to fix it, and why it's important that we do it now. All right, so you've gone through all of that. And then patient seems interested, they want to do it. Before you start discussing fees, and yes, I'm recommending that you, the doctor, discuss fees, you ask them, do you want to do this treatment plan? This is a critical question because I've seen people get into the fees and then they backtrack to, do you want to do this treatment plan? Which you can always do if the patient seems to be, hedging, and the patient says, I don't know. In which case, why are you arguing about them paying for something that they don't really want to do? Let's assume that you ask them, do you want to do this treatment plan? And they say, yes, doctor, I absolutely do. Then you, the doctor, with the treatment coordinator there, tell the patient how much it costs. Now, if you've been watching our videos or listening to our podcast, you know that we're big proponents of this. The doctor should discuss fees. At minimum, you should tell the patient how much it costs and send them off for your treatment coordinator to go sort out finances. I would recommend that you take it a step further, and this all plays into what to do if they're disapproved for financing. So you tell them, okay, it's going to be $12,000. All right, now what might the patient say when you tell them $12,000? Oh my gosh, that's a lot of money. I don't know, I'm going to pay for that. Whatever they might say. There can be varying responses. Well, the next question you can ask them is, well, how would you normally pay for something like this? And they'll sit and they'll think a little bit. And they might say, well, I could put it on a credit card. Okay, do you have that credit card here with you? Yeah, it's a Visa. I have it here with me. Great. Well, here, Susan, whatever your treatment coordinator's name, I made up the name Susan. Susan, well, you and Susan can go off. You can put that on that credit card. We'll get you on the schedule. As a matter of fact, Susan, when is my next appointment for this type of procedure? Oh, day after tomorrow, doctor. Great. Can you be here day after tomorrow at 9 in the morning? Excellent. You send them off with Susan to put it on the credit card. Now, why didn't I get into patient financing there? Well, there's a really specific reason, because in a lot of cases, a patient could pay without financing, and you're not even giving them that option. And this is something that I have found that is endemic in dentistry. I've seen treatment coordinators directed to use patient financing. And keep in mind, we are big fans here at MGE of patient financing companies. We work with a bunch of them. Here's the problem. If a patient puts this treatment plan on a credit card, that's going to cost me, what, 3%? If they finance it, that could cost me up to 15%. Why do I want to eat 15% when I could eat 3% and the patient could have paid? Think about that for a second. But you want to give them the opportunity to participate in solving this problem. So they've offered up to you, well, I can put it on a credit card. Okay, great. You send them off with Susan to go put it on the credit card. Now let's say they say, yeah, I don't have any way I could pay for this. Maybe I could do a payment plan. Okay, well, you might want to get a little bit more information. Well, how much do you think you could pay per month? Well, I could probably pay, $500, $600 a month. All right, so this patient could pay this treatment plan off within about 2 years. So then you go, good. We have many different payment options. I'm going to have you work with our treatment coordinator, Susan, here. You guys can take a look at which one works out best for you. I would still do that, hey, when could you come in day after tomorrow at 9 a.m. because you want to sort of embed in their mind a little bit that you want to get them in on the schedule as soon as possible, and that has a lot of weight coming from the doctor, which is why, by the way, we recommend that the doctor discusses fees. A patient is most apt to listen to the doctor. So let's say you send them off with a treatment coordinator. Now, one of two conditions are present when you send them off with a treatment coordinator. Either A, they're going to put it on their credit card, or B, they're going to apply for financing. Now, let's say, it could also happen, they go off to put it on their credit card, and then they change their mind and they want to apply for financing. All right, that happens. Before we apply for financing, what does your treatment coordinator do? They tell them, they get a little bit more information. What is your credit like? Because you probably have multiple patient financing options. And if you don't, you should absolutely get them. If you want to know more about different finance companies that are out there, you can always email me at jeffb@mgeonline.com. There are tons, okay? And there are ones for people with great credit down to people with not so great credit. So I'm gonna wanna find out a little bit about this patient before I just go randomly applying to anybody and everybody, because I don't wanna end up stacking up a ton of disapprovals. So I'm gonna find the one that I think fits them the best before we apply. That's the first thing I'm gonna do. The second thing I'm gonna do as the treatment coordinator is I'm gonna tell them this. Well, let me ask you this. Have you ever had somebody not get approved for financing that you thought would? Or someone get approved that you thought there's no way they're ever gonna get approved? Of course you have. Well, that's because you don't know those finance companies' credit criteria, and neither do I. I would tell the patient this before you apply, okay? Hey, listen, we're gonna apply for this, but just as a word of warning, I don't know what credit criteria they use, and some people have been disapproved that I would expect to be approved, and some people have been approved that I would not expect to have been approved. So we're gonna apply and see what happens. The patient says, okay, you apply. Now, the reason we're doing all of this, how could they pay, etc., and telling them this before we apply, is if it comes back with a disapproval, that definitely softens the blow a lot. We've also been very selective about which company we're using, so we're not picking, they tell us their credit is 610, and we're applying for a company that requires a 720 score or above. We're not automatically setting ourselves up for a loss, because when a person is disapproved for financing or denied credit, it feels degrading. They're gonna feel bummed. So I don't wanna be dealing with somebody who's bummed. I wanna try to keep them from getting bummed. So that's why I'm doing all of this before we apply. So let's say we apply and they're approved and everything's great, cool. Let's say we apply and they're denied. Now, in the event that they'd already offered up to put it on a credit card and have now changed their mind and wanna do a payment plan, I would then go, you know what, I told you, see these credit criteria, they're all over the place. I have no idea what the criteria are. Why don't we just go put it on the credit card like we originally intended? So you already had a solution ahead of time, patient pays and you're fine. Let's say that was never on the table. The patient was always gonna wanna do it on a payment plan and they've now been denied. You can try another company if there's one available that you could try, or your next option is now you gotta start going down the line of possible co-signers. That might be where you go next. Do you have anybody that could co-sign on this for you? Well, yeah, my wife could, my father could, my mother could. Okay, good. Let's see if we can get them in here to co-sign on this for you so that we can apply. Again, we have the fact that they want it and the doctor has already confirmed that to keep that drive strong for them to do the treatment. So then we get the co-signer in, co-signer signs off, and they do it. If the person is really motivated, at least what I have found in sales, if someone is very, very motivated, they'll figure out a way to go ahead and do it, okay? Now, let's say they don't have a co-signer. All right, what are our options now? Let's say it's a super extensive treatment plan. They need work on 20 teeth, and they all need to be worked on now. It's not something that can be phased. You might have to send them to a school or something like this to get worked on. And this, obviously, the doctor is going to have to be involved in this decision. This is not the treatment coordinator's call at that point, okay? Or if they can afford, let's say it's a $12,000 treatment plan, can afford 4 or 5, and there's just no other way for them to pay for more, the doctor is going to have to work out what we're going to do right now for the 4 or 5. We get them approved for that, and then we start that. But either way, we keep the person moving on treatment. But by doing the steps that I mentioned to you earlier, in the process, it makes when you have a denial a lot easier to handle. If you don't do this, because how does it usually roll? You go, okay, good, this is the treatment. The patient says, I want to put it on a payment plan, or you offer up 20 different types of payment plan. You send them off, they get disapproved. Now they're bummed out and they don't want to talk about it. That's what we're trying to avoid. This is why we do all these steps I mentioned at the beginning of this video before we actually apply for credit, so that the person stays not bummed and willing to work with you in order to sign up for their treatment plan. Because obviously if they did the treatment that they need, they win, you win, the practice wins. Anyway, that's all I have for you this week. I hope that helps. If you'd like to see more tips like this from MGE, don't forget to subscribe and click the notifications bell so you're notified every time a new tip comes out. And if you have any questions about MGE, you can find us online at mgeonline.com or call us at 800-640-1140.